Hi guys, this is Vijay, your host. So today we are going to talk about Cisco multi-layer switch, which we also call that storage switches, multi-layer director switches, which we call that, MDS, Cisco MDS, which we use for the basically SAN networking, and why we need these switches, why we use these switches, that we're gonna discuss today. So basically MDS is a multi-layer Cisco 9000 series switches, and these switches can help to the lower the total cost of the storage environment, and they combine the robust flexible hardware architecture, and it also provide the multi-layer of the network storage management intelligence, and we can build that high availability and scalable storage network, and with the advanced security and unified management for the environment. So our scenario is, if I talk about the Cisco MDS switches, series switches. So if you go to the cisco.com and type the MDS, you will see that MDS, there are a lot of other product families are available in MDS, Cisco 9000. The latest one is 9700 and 9500. We have 9200, 9100, which are, I believe that end of life, end of supports. And yeah, so our task is we do not have any advanced topology for now, but we will take a look some basics of that. And usually when we deploy this kind of scenario, and we deploy with the LAN integration also, but for my scenario, I have compute node, which is already configured to use the storage array here. And that storage array is kind of remote storage for my server. That's our whole picture we have here is our server is using the remote storage using the certain protocols. So between those storage and all these things, we are going to the all the sort of the SAN networking. So here we are going to run if we talk about here we are going to run all the SAN networking, and to provide the source server to use the destination as a storage box to consume this disk from here. However, if this is the one way of doing the storage configuration, and if you talk about the more efficient way, and if you want to have external communications, we usually connect that storage or the LAN devices with the MDS devices with the LAN device here, running that either FC or FCOE. Can be, these switches can be Nexus 5000 and the 7K and the Nexus 9K nowadays can be supported here, usually for the LAN networking. And through that, we access these compute nodes and all these things. So I have a lab, and in that lab, what I have here is, so my MDS switches are also having a management interface, and that management interface is connecting to my Nexus dashboard, okay, which call that Nexus dashboard. And that Nexus dashboard, inside the Nexus dashboard, I have a tiny feature or applications. We call that NDFC, Nexus Dashboard Fabric Controller. NDFC for the NDFC SAN feature. So NDFC has LAN and SAN both. LAN we use for the NXOS, SAN we use for the MDS switches. MDS switches does not use NXOS. They use the Nexus OS, but those are the SAN-based OS. You can download from Cisco.com software. Okay, so if I try to log in any of these switches, from my lab here, so if you see that this is the lab I have, okay, and in the lab I have two switches, that edge switch and if I say edge switch and the core switch I have. Yeah. Okay, if I go to the edge switches now and type that, so interface brief. Now, if you see that I have few more, fiber channel interfaces which are connecting with the different devices here. What all those devices are? So basically, if you see my picture over here, I have around 4 interfaces which are connecting between the switches. And I have a interface which is FC1/1, which is connecting on the edge device, connecting to the compute, and on the core device connecting to the storage array. Okay, so I have a scenario where I want to have the port channel, FC port channel, fiber channel, port channel over here. And I want to run the kind of storage routing. We call that zoning. Okay, storage routing, we call that zoning. And that zoning purpose is to establish the communication between the storage array and the compute nodes using the WWN numbers, worldwide node name numbers, and all these things. Okay, and also if you compare to the LAN versus MDS devices, so LAN has between the switches what type of a port we use, that switch port mode trunk, use that in Nexus devices we use the spanning tree port type network, we use that, right? But in the and also in the LAN environment, if any hosts are connected, we use that in an Nexus edge trunk, right? And we also use a switch port mode access. Similarly, in the if you're having the MDS devices, if directly storage or compute nodes, compute can be your UCS also, right? UCS B series or C series, or in third party art. So can be HP, Dell, any servers can be. Those we configure as a port type F, which is equivalent to the switch port mode access. And between the switches, we use that TE using the ISL. As an inter-switch link. We call it between the inter-switch link, we use the T mode, which is equivalent to the trunk here. Okay, so same thing you will see here. Same thing you will see here. T is using here. If I show that the configuration of their switches, which is so run. Sorry. Yeah, if you see that this so run the devices, look here. 1/, there is 1/1. 1/1 is this one. And these are some ports. By default, they are detecting the ISL link. Now, if I go to the my core switch, if I type so run, so by default, they are detecting all the communication. However, look here, this one. Now, however, by default, if you see that on the core devices, just give me a second. On the edge devices, and on the edge devices, you will see that just not fancy configuration, right? We have the feature NPIV, you have feature NXAPI, all these commands are running over here. And also I have enabled that FCI domain, FCID domain, where I am currently mapping that source and destination. However, if you see that all the disk, all the storage are detecting from this particular port about how many disks are there and what all the MAC address of the disk or the details of the disk is connected over here. So if you see here, FCID database, right? Here. This is not the manual configuration. This is the dynamic configuration, which by default, if your interface is up with the your storage box array, this WWN by default will be detecting on the switches as through using the CDP LLDP neighbor over here. Okay, so these are some disks which we have on the storage array are detecting on my switches. Okay, using this any of the disk and all, we will create the zoning and zoning rule to configure that. Now, unlike the LAN environment, in the LAN environment, if you want to have the single domain or multiple domain, we configure the VLAN environment, right? But here we configure the VSAN environment. VSAN is virtual SAN area network, and VLAN is virtual LAN area network. So similarly, we configure that. However, if there is a two-way to do it configuration of these MDS devices, either you can utilize the MDS CLI, like command line interface of the devices, or you can utilize the Nexus dashboard, which is automation, can be used for this kind of configuration, right? So first I will just try to do the manual view configuration. Then I will show the same exact configuration using the the scenario for this lab is to I will create that multiple configuration like the zoning configuration, and I will also configure that port channel. Then I will make that communication between them, all this sort of configuration, we will do that. So if I go to the here, and between the switches, let's configure the port channel on port channel 3 to 6. Okay, port channel 1, let me configure that. So what I can do here, I can go to the edge device. Okay, and I can type core or edge innovative access is fine. If I type config T, if I say the so module first, what module number I'm using? I'm using that 9100 series switches. Okay, and it has around 16 ports, which are FC fiber channel. Okay, if I go to the core switches, what core switch I'm going to use? I'm using that show module. The command line is almost same. So if it's the core switches, I'm using the other modular switch, just like an NXAPI series switches. This is an NXAPI9600. I have a 2-line cards, which has around 648 ports per line card. These are the pure FC ports. There is no Ethernet port. And I have 2 supervisor module. One is the active, one is the standby, just like an NXAPI7000, NXAPI9500 modular switches. So I have a modular switch, which is this one core switch. This is the fixed chassis I have. Okay. Now, if I go to the my edge device and type interface FC 1/3 to 6. Okay, I will say that channel group 1 or 11 ports. Okay. Now, if I type the force, LACP won't work over here, so do not configure that. If I type 11, then a question mark, only force option is coming here. Okay. So already in port channel, if I say no shut, the same thing, I will go to the my core switches and replicate that interface FC 1/3/6. Sorry, 3/6. If I type here, for example, channel group 12 ports, no shut. Now, if I say so interface brief, if you see that currently showing that the speed is 16 Gbps for port number 1 to 2, and 3 to 6 port, I have configured the port channel number 12. They are in init state. Okay, they are in init state, and let me no set the interface. No set. Me no set the here also. Okay, let's see interface port channel 12. No shut. If I go to the edge switches, interface port channel number 12, no shut. If I just show interface brief, the interface should be a trunking. If you see that here, and they are up running. Now, if I go to the show interface brief, these interface are trunking now up. Okay. Now, if I say the show port channel something, so port channel database. So these are, if you see that, these are the 4 interfaces which belong to the port channel number 12. Okay. And currently 1/6 is a kind of first operational port for the traffic. Okay. Same thing if I go to my edge device, if I type so port channel database. So you can see that currently 1/6 here is also active, and currently say the 1/12 administrative channel is more active. Operational channel mode is active. This is the neighborship. Okay, so these are the port channel based configuration. Like you can just type also like so interface port channel like 11, for example. You can get all the details, how many, the VSAN is allowed on the particular port. So currently I have VSAN 0, just like a VLAN 0. we get that. Here we have VSAN 0. So total around 16 into 4, 64 GB SPS speed from the interface number port channel 11 we are getting here. And this is the PWWN, just like a MAC hardware MAC address of the interface. There is a WWN, there is a PWWN. PWWN means physical hardware address. Okay. And NWWN means node worldwide node name, which is your disk-based configuration, all these things. We'll get that. Similarly, if I go to the here, if your interface is either disabled, something is happened, we should be also troubleshooting the VSAN detail, all these details over here. Like this port channel is also up, and there is a VSAN is also up on that. Okay, if I type here, so VSAN membership, currently if you see that just one VSAN is created, nothing is created for now. If you want to create it, you can create that. If you want to create the VSAN database, VSAN, for example, 2, right? Done. The same thing I can do it, create the VSAN database over here. Just like a VLAN database, you can create that. VLAN configuration. This is the also VSAN database, VSAN 2, for example. Okay, if I say so interface port channel 12, currently if you see that VLAN 2 is in init state. They are not currently up. They are not currently up. It may take time to come back. If it is not coming back, then you have to allow it manually. So by default, I have a trunk port. So currently, it become the active for the interface between them. Okay. Now, if you see that, so VSAN membership, you will see that the 2 VSAN is created. And all the interfaces by default belong to the one VSAN number 1, including the port channel 12. Now, if I go to the same thing, if I try to replicate from the graphical interface and all these things. So I have a Nexus dashboard. Okay. This is the Nexus dashboard I have. And in the Nexus dashboard, I can before Nexus dashboard, I want to show the few things for you. I want to say that so FCNS database. In the FCNS database, I want to show that what is the storage name. What is the server storage name is connected to my currently in my switches. So if you see that this is the design I have. In the design, this storage is connected, and what is the protocol is running. So currently there is a ESXi type storage which is connecting to my switches, and this is the Emulex storage which is connecting to my interfaces. If I go to my source side, edge side, where I have a server, what is connecting to my database? If I see the so FCNS database local, so if you see that Emulex, and on the here D9. So what is showing here is, so if just like a MAC address, this Emulex D9 is learning here. Okay, if I show the FCNS without local command and switches, whatever storage I have connected over here, they are learning on this switch. So they are exchanging the WWN, just like a MAC address, dynamic MAC address, bin LAN switches are in a trunk. They exchange that. They exchange the FCNS database. Okay. Similarly, but they cannot talk to each other by default. Okay. But they cannot talk to each other by default for that. Now, if you take a look here, interface type, which is connecting between the switches. So by default switches has one feature called the NPIV, N port identifier virtualization. Okay, so currently N4, the port, network port or the node port, identifier virtualization. And the feature provides means the multiple FCID on the single port. It means if you're having a one box here, and it can provide the multiple FC ID, multiple WW name on the single end port device. Just it's going to act as a trunk port. So basically between the between here to here, this is the NPIV. NPI, which means multiple node, multiple WWN can be exchanged between them. This feature allows the multiple applications on the end port to use the different FCID and allow the controls and zoning and port security, all this to implement on for the application level. Okay, if I go to the my core switch, if I type here feature just like a Nexus devices, you will see that this Nexus devices must be having a by default NPIV is enabled here. Okay, this is a feature I have by default here. Now, if you do not have a feature enabled, you can enable on the both the switches. On the edge switch also, I should have this on the core and edge both the switches. I should have this feature enabled. If you see that NPIB is also enabled here. Okay. Now, if you want to check the initial configuration like environment level detail of the Nexus, this MDS devices, you can just type the show inventory, just like a Nexus devices, right? So inventory, you can type all the details. You can type your show hardware. So all the hardware level related details, you will get that, including that what the OS currently is using. It use also kickstart a system image just like NXOS mode for the boot up, and also you have all the XVAR related fabric fabric module, all these related details you will get here. You can type your SO interface trunk VSAN. You can get here how many VSAN is allowed for the what particular ports here. All the details you can figure it out. You can type here so running configuration just like a normal one. You can type here so boot also what particular boot image is booting currently. So these are just normal Nexus devices. There's no much difference if I just show environment power, how much power it is using. This is the hardware, physical hardware. So this, if you see that a lot of power supplies units are deployed on there with the high availability. Now, if I go to the Nexus dashboard, let's integrate these particular boxes into the Nexus dashboard. Okay. Now, if I go to the Nexus dashboard and log into this Nexus dashboard, this is the Nexus dashboard. In the Nexus dashboard, I have a NDFC which for the SAN feature. Okay. If I go to here, sorry. Okay, if I go to the admin is pure Nexus dashboard. On top of the Nexus dashboard, I have one feature enabled called an NDFC SAN. Okay, so if I go to the here, this is the just pure of your details of the Nexus dashboard, how many services are there. And if you see that in the Nexus dashboard, I have a service enabled called that Nexus dashboard fabric controller. And on that particular part, I just enable the SAN feature also. Okay. And this Nexus dashboard is in the Kubernetes base. So I think it's better to understand the Kubernetes in order to utilize that with the DevOps to understand more of the how the cluster works and all these things. I've covered in the Nexus dashboard section. Now let's go to the Nexus dashboard for the SAN environment, how we can add and delete all these things. So what I will do here, I will add that I did Nexus dashboard for the NDFC for the LAN environment also. This is the SAN section. So you can check that LAN also in my series of the videos. If I go to the SAN, if I click on that, sorry. In the SAN, I will go to the fabric. In fabric, I will say the add fabric. In the add fabric, I will say that MDS fabric, I will create that. And this is the Cisco. This is a Cisco device, not non-Cisco devices. And I will use 198.18.1.201, one of my MDS device, which is connecting on my management switches. You see here I have management switch. Okay, connecting to that in the same VLAN. And then I will say that I want to have admin username password for discovery. Done. Once this is done, what I can do here is I can just add it. The moment I will add the one device, one MDS device, the another MDS device will be automatically discovered. Whatever device is connected to this particular MDS device, all the devices will be automatically discovered to the my Nexus dashboard. So let's wait for a second. It's still discovering. Yeah, it's 50% crossed. So unlike the all the manual tools, you just have to you have to discover one device. All the remaining devices will be automatically added, whatever they are directly connecting to that particular box. If I refresh the page, yeah, if you see that this MDS device is showing over here, if I go inside this MDS fabric, sorry, how many switches it has? It has a 2 switch. Okay, it has a 2 switches. Now, if I go to the just give me a second. If I go to the back to my dashboard, if I go to the SAN and go to the link, I want to create the, for example, port channel on these switches. Okay. So for that matter, what I can do here is currently these MDS switches already having a 2-port channel. If you see that here, 11 and 12. Okay. If you want to create the port channel, you can create the port channel over here option. Okay. And you can add the, like, for example, trunk mode or something like that. You can definitely add it. It's not an issue. However, you can select that MDS detail over here. And if you want to add the pair, you can add the pair if you like to. Otherwise, no need to create that because it is already created for myself. Okay. So no need to create that. But if it is not created, definitely we can create that these options. Okay. If I do the pair switch contains, then it will add that core edge on something like that. You can add it over here. But as of now, it's already created for me. So I will not that. But if I want to create it, for example, what I will do here is I will remove that port channel. No interface. Sorry. No interface port channel, for example, 12. And same thing I will do for my edge devices. No interface port channel number 11. Once it is deleted, if I say that, so port channel database, nothing is created. Now, if I try to refresh this page, my port channel configuration should be removed from here. Should be removed. PB is not, ISL is created. So if I go to the here, it may take time a little bit. If I go to the switches again, and let me refresh this, or rather I can delete it and add it back. It's not an issue, but usually it's to refresh the details. So it shouldn't be the issue with any kind of. If I go to the link here, if it is not deleting, what I can do here is I can let me remove and add it. This is the virtual lab, so I really not trusting this. Whether it will refresh, auto refresh, but in production environment, it will auto refresh that your configuration changes. Okay, once this is deleted, MDS, I will add another box here. I will say that MDS fabric. This is the seed device. I will go with my username and password, which I have for MDS. Okay, and I will add it. And it will take like 1 or 2 minutes to become the active. Okay. Let's see. Wait for a second. Yeah, once it is added, what I will do here is I will go to the link here. On the link, if you see that currently these ports are currently active and they are not binded to anyone else. So what I will do here, I will configure the port channel. I will edit call this one. I will select these devices between the edge and core. Then I will select the next. Then I will say all these four links will I want to create as a port channel. If you want to just disable that, all the ports are up, or all the ports which are TE port, which are trunk port, ISL ports, are currently showing as a selected for the port channel. Okay. Now, once they are selected, what I can do here is I can select the next for the creation. This is done. Next. Then I can say port channel ID. Port channel ID I will give here for number 1, both the side, core switch also, and the other on the edge switch also. You can say the core switch and edge switch. And the description, you can say that on the edge switch, I can say that to core switch. On the core switch, I can say that to edge switch. This is by default is taking that, but you can modify that based on your requirement. If you want to set that any kind of attributes, for example, auto, 8 gig or something like that, definitely you can do it. I will say that auto trunk switch port mode trunk auto. Then I will say allowed VSAN. You can allow that VSAN based on your requirements. As of now, I'm just keeping the default, but if you want to, you can add the range of the VLAN also, or you can allow that VSAN 1, 2, 3, like that also. Or you can allow the VSAN 1 to 10, for example, 12 also. You can do that. But as of now, just VSAN 1 is creating, and I will say that force admin trunk speed attributes, all everything should be the matched. Then I will say that submit, create the new port channel. Saying that the failed create channel still is incorrect value. Oh, why? Just this second, guys, it shouldn't happen. If I create it again, if I select this one quickly, next, minimize the page. Okay, I will say the next. The port channel number 1 is already created, I believe, or what? Yeah, port channel number 1 is created. That error was wrong. So this time port 5 is active. Okay, and if I go to my core switches, so port channel summary or database. Yeah, port channel 1 is created. If you see that error was, that's why I do not trust these virtual labs. Yeah. If you want to edit the port channel, definitely you have option to edit it. Must be, if I go to this particular fabric, currently it's not showing, which is strange, but yeah, it is already created, so no need to worry about that. And this should be, binded. If you see the VSAN 1 and 2 is already allowed on this port. Okay, once the port channel is done, which is not very good showing over here, which is okay. What I will do here is I will create the zoning. Okay, if you want to check that details also, you can just check the so interface brief. Okay, showing that currently all they belong to the port channel 1, and all the ports is showing the currently E port. 1 is F, all the E port. Okay, E port is fine, just like a trunk port or auto port. Trunk port is TE, auto port is E. Okay, if I see that detail, sorry. Okay, now if you see the trunk mode is auto, that's why showing that operation mode is E, which is okay. We should not be worried about that. Let's create the zoning. So zoning is creating the routing for the host communication. So I will say that the SAN, in the SAN I will say the zoning. In the zoning between for which particular fabric I want to create, this is the fabric I want to create, and which particular VSAN you want to create. That's a major for us to hear is. Okay. Now, if I click here to create that, just give me a second. I will say create the zone set. Okay. So in the zone set, I will say that zone set name, I will give that zone set 1. Okay. Once the zone set name is filled and created over here, then I will edit the zone set. I will say edit the zone member. Then what I will do here is I will create the zone, new zone on that, and that zone I will call that zone 1. Okay. Okay. Once I will create the zone 1, I can zone 1 is the fine, right? Oh, it's wrong. Just give me a second. I should not be creating in a capital letter. Create zone 1. Done. Once I create this zone 1, and then I will add the existing member on that and add the existing member under zone. And what all these existing member are? Member which are learning from the FC01. Okay, these are the two member which are, one is a pure storage, one is Emulex servers we have. I will add this zone member into my zone set. Done. Once I add this, then I will say that add this zone set. Add the zone set to these particular zones, which is fine. Yeah, whatever member it has been added in a particular zone member. If you see that here, they both are online now. Okay, then I will say that activate the zone set. I will activate this zone set. Okay, and activate the zone set. Done. So this is the zoning which has been created on that. If I want to take a look in a topology, just wait for a second. It will push the configuration. Once the configuration is pushed, I can check on the both the devices whether zone set is created or not. So if I go to the zone status for VSAN status VSAN 1. If you see that one zones is created, and that created name must be zone set. The zone set VSAN 1. Yeah, look here. This is default one VSAN. If I say activated, is this one, which is fine. Sender activation is completed, which is okay. If I show here, so zone set activate VSAN 1. Show me the zone set which has been activated for this VSAN 1, and both are working fine. So in order to make that both the zoning source and destination talk to each other, make sure that their MAC address, their WWN, this switch already should know that this MAC, this WWN and this WWN. This switch should know that this WWN, this WWN. In this case only they will talk to each other. Then only you can create that zone set and activate the zone set. If they are not talking to each other, you cannot create the zone set. Just like a routing. If you do not have in a routing table, routing won't be forwarded to the forwarding table. So similarly, if you do not have MAC address table in the table, you will not be able to do anything. Same thing if I go to the just run the running configuration for zone VSAN 1. Okay, look here. You see the configuration which has been pushed from the my client. Now, if there are a lot of command which you can run that. So zone internal VSAN 1, you can run that. You can check all the zoning status for troubleshooting purposes. If nothing is working, you can check that all the details of the interfaces for these kind of activities. Now, if I say here, so interface port channel. Port channel 1, for example, then all these things are working fine. If you see that the old port channel is still having some sort of issue here. Look here, this is the issue. One is port channel is idle, which is okay. The merging is not yet done. Now, if you want to get the more details of the zone and zone set, if I say that, so I will say the same zone set. So zone status VSAN 1. You can get there. This is the status of the VSAN. Currently is allowed, and this is all the status of it. If you want to check the configuration, so zone set active VSAN 1. This is the zone set currently we created PWWN using the source and destination. If you want to check, so the running configuration zone VSAN 1. This is the zone set, and currently this is the member of that. There are a lot of, if you see that, so running, a lot of these two are created. And if I go to the core switches, in the core switches, if I say so run, there are a lot of FC IDs coming, right? So we are not using all the FC ID to configure all the things, right? We are using the picking that 10.6, I think, which is the one, this one. This is the one which we are picking for the communication. One hard disk we are picking for the communication for the one host. Okay, we are activating that. So now server can initiate or integrate their database and all these things. I do not have server access, unfortunately. I cannot show that. I have a C series server, emulate server, which I'm currently installing there. And using that server, I can, you save the data or upload the data, download the data. You can run that remote storage for the OS also. All these things you can do it. Now, second thing is the advantage of Nexus dashboard over here is not just for the configuration. You can do the analytic also. The SAN analytic solution will provide you that the insight of your fabric that allows you to monitor and analyze and identify and troubleshoot the performance of the issues. And it also provide a lot of telemetry, streaming the information. It can provide you the holistic view of entire Nexus dashboard with the MDS solution, right? Now, if there is option, if I go to the SAN device here, SAN. In the SAN, there is an option called that the configure SAN insight. Where is this configure SAN insight? Just give me a second. If I go to topology, in the topology, it maintains that like this is the source and destination it is connecting. If I click on the source and destination, if I see the data center, that's fine. I want to say hierarchy. These are the currently devices. No. So if I go to the SAN, okay, and as I go to the fabric and select that MDS, and if I go to the action, you will see that the configure SAN insights. So I can enable the monitoring also for the SAN environment, for entire SAN environment, whatever MDS switches you have. Okay. So for example, you want to configure the like some information like if anything any sort of SAN activity happen, a query happen, or installation query, or a storage query happen for the ICE query for NFV, you can just monitor all these activities. If you see that enable SAN in boss configuration, NTP should be in sync, so that's fine. So if I have two switches, I will select both the switches. Okay, for this. Currently do not have subscription, which is okay. I will not be bothered about that. This is just for the testing environment. Then I will say that the next should option come. There is an issue like if I do not the problem is I do not have the query is not valid for the core. I do not have a licensing activation for now, but still, through this you can server time is the issue. So if I select this, yeah, so this is the issue. I don't have timing. It shouldn't be the issue. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it is giving me the next option. In the next option, when I come to that, I get the modular configuration. In the modular configuration, what I can do here is I can just say that next. I don't want to configure for now. But in the interface configuration, I will see that there are a couple of options you can select in the view here. So there is like an FB matrix and this iSCSI, matrix. Just give me, nothing is coming, which is strange. There's an interface section. The raw data should be coming. So if I go to preview and let's say if I come back again, if I go ICE matrix, which is not showing the right way of configuration. You wanted to set the iSCSI matrix and the NB matrix for this configuration. So just give me a second. Let me refresh this my dashboard and do it again. I will configure the insights and insight. And let's wait for a second. It's a bit slow. Yeah, so yeah, if I go to the next, I will select both of them. This is fine. Okay. If I say preview, then next, option should be visible. Perfect. If I go to the next, if I click on the next, preview, next. Okay, so this option should be, visible over here. Choose the interface, the analytic. So like interfaces should be visible over, which is not visible over here currently. Device interface contain FC 1/3. For example, I will just select next. Okay. Which is a subscription issue, which is okay. I think that's the reason we are unable to do anything telemetry perspective. Otherwise, yeah, once you submit that and review the configuration, we will be able to see the dashboard of the entire health. Through that, dashboard insight, we can check the holistic view of the entire SAN fabric, like from here, SAN insights. Through the SAN insights, currently I don't have that iSCSI and option because due to the subscription issues, I'm not able to capture that, but you can get that all the flow of into it, like how much, how many IOPS are iSCSI is sending input output rate, and how much throughput is being used. Is there any issue? Is there any, storage health issues? Is there any flow summary issues? Something kind of all these things you can always check here. And you can also from here, you can check here, so running on analytic. Currently, there is no running configuration, I believe. So running config analytic. Yeah. Analytic. This is not been enabled. That's the reason we will not be able to see anything. So analytics. Oh, this feature is currently is not showing here because that command is not available. Okay. And if you want to, command line something, if you want to have the automation, if you want to automate this, you want to have some scripting you want to enable on the for this particular MDS without the having a NDFC something, there's a called the feature NXAPI. Okay, this feature NXAPI, and you can say the NXAPI Sandbox. Okay, I can configure that NXAPI will use HTTPS port 8443, for example. This will also, it can use NXAPI, can use that HTTP port 80, and I can say that so NXAPI, so NXAPI. So you can get here all the details and certification, all these details of it. So what I can do here is I can just log in the this particular box using, if I go to the here, if I say here HTTPS or HTTPS, yeah, colon 192.198.18.1.201 colon 8443. Is this the right IP? Did I? So I think I did the wrong switch. This is 202, not 201. 202. So using this command, you can run the Python, you can run the query, you can run a lot of other things from this one. Okay. Now, if I think this command is supposed to be here. Okay, for example, if I run that feature NXAPI API, I will say that NXAPI Sandbox. Then I will say NXAPI HTTPS port 8443. Then I will say so NXAPI. This is the certificate which has been issued by default, and this is the port details. Currently, HTTP is not allowed. So if I go to the should be working. Configuration is right? What I did 48443. So NXAPI 8443. Yeah, I mean it should be worked logically, but it is not working, which is okay. Using this command, we should be able to let me try a different font itself. .2. If I type here, that's okay. It's not reachable, which is okay. But usually this way of configuring, you can get the NXAPI dashboard. For the Nexus also, you can do the same thing using the local port. And through that port, you can just copy paste the Python, XML, and generate the query through the Java. You know, all these things you can do it from the this particular options. Yeah, this is all I wanted to show. That the last thing is I wasn't able to show that the two things. One is properly dashboard and inside, which is due to the limitation of the lab. But yeah, this is how you configure that your NXAPI using the Nexus dashboard. And oh, sorry, I did the wrong. Just give me a second. HTTPS. I was searching somewhere else. Okay, 198.18.1.201. Sorry, 8443. I was not searching in BDI. Yeah, admin. Yeah. So this is the Nexus NXAPI sandbox which we have created locally for my box, which is okay. You can run the lot of queries. Come on. You can run a lot of queries from here, and you can do a lot of. If I, for example, you want to run the Jones set active VSAN 1. I want to get the data of this Jones set. Then what I'm going to do, I will just post it on this particular box. I will get the whole reply of this Jones set. Look here. I got that saying that this is the request I have sent, and this is the response I am getting. I'm saying that this particular Jones set one has this particular two PWWN integrated with the Jones set VSAN 1. This one. So this is again is the best option to run the query, to run any commands, to run any kind of even for the configuration you can post it if you like to have. For example, VSAN 10, VSAN database, VSAN 10. For example, if I go to the post it, okay, what is saying that currently the result is null. because you can capture the in Python also. This is just for the query, not for the all these formatting. If you want to configure anything, you can definitely configure from the using the CLI or graphical interface of that particular box. Just give me a second. If I say the show VSAN database, VSAN database. Okay. LT VLAN 10 is also pushed from the box. So if I want to create the VSAN 20, 10, 11 to 13. This is the most easiest way of configuring, pushing the configuration, but it doesn't matter whether you push from this box or from the any, do it remotely. Here, look here. So this is the one way of using the NX API. Same thing, NXOS also can be used. The way we are using the MDS, same thing we can use for the NXOS also, which I will be showing in the upcoming session, how to get that NX API feature on the NXOS and run it from the single dashboard, simple dashboard, rather than creating the script and writing that. Though you can create the script, it's not a big deal like this one. This is the by default Java thing is creating. If I click on the Python and if I paste it in my notepad, so I can get the exact script in a Python also. Look here, this is the Python script. If I want to get in a JavaScript, you can get in a Java copy. Look here, if I click here, this is the Java. So like all the things can be then you can copy the response also. You can validate also if you want to validate only. Before pushing that, you can just validate that what is the command is there and how they're going to react that, all these things. This is a per device which that's only disadvantage you're going to have. But the Nexus dashboard is for give you the holistic view of entire MDS devices, whatever it is available in the database. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe and like if you like it, if it is helpful for you, and we will see you in next session.